Good morning. How are you? Well, I'm still in Ocean City. You can hear the ocean, and you can see the ocean. It's warmer. It's approaching Memorial Day here, when I think the place will be overrun with permits from elsewhere to enjoy the sand and the sun. The headline for me today, and perhaps you as well, is that the trial is over, in the sense of the fact that both the prosecution and the defense have rested. And in the end, the defense committed several errors that compromise any possibility they have of getting an acquittal. One is that we predicted from the beginning that Trump was never going to testify. And the reason that he was never going to testify is that it would remove every conceivable doubt that this man was on the stand self-inflicting additional wounds, admissions, statements, cockiness, arrogance. That is his character, truthfully and honestly, but would confirm in a way the charges that leave the burden with the prosecution when a defendant has not taken the stand. In fact, I believe this is true to such an extent that even in civil cases, I think very carefully about putting the client on the stand, because it admits of enough innocent material that I think it increases the chances that a jury will believe that the bad deed was committed. So Trump, big surprise, has been lying from the beginning that he'd testify when he had no intention to do so. Now, some commentators, I understand, are saying defense would have been better if it just left the last witness to be Michael Cohen. I think that presumes there was more damage done to Michael Cohen in terms of credibility, likability, and the rest, to think that he had been harmed. I don't think he was harmed. But in terms of a forced error, they put on the stand Bob Costello. Now, Bob Costello and I, we haven't been in touch in many years, but the two of us were assistant U.S. attorneys in the official corruption unit, and our offices were right next to each other. And if anyone were to tell me that Rudy or he would become the people they are, I would be very surprised. Costello seems to me as an example of a guy who presumably knows how to prepare witnesses, but didn't prepare himself. And when I say didn't prepare himself, I'm saying that he kept informing the prosecution to look at the emails. That is, emails that related to what he claimed was his representation of Cohen and what Cohen told him and why Cohen was misleading the jury in this case in the here and now. Now, the trouble with that is that I don't think he studied the emails himself, or he thought others would not. I don't know how that's possible when you consider how the prosecution has conducted very classical cross-examinations. I would have asked more leading questions than they did when they could, but still, there is no question that their approach and their judgment was professional, and that you would credit them with having presented their case. And when they had done it, they sat down. When they needed to, quote, rehabilitate a witness, that is to add additional facts or context, they did it. Now, what happened was, with Bob Costello on the stand, he was so arrogant that when he was directed not to answer questions, he would say things like, geez, and he was making faces at the judge and showing himself to be angry. Now, there's no question in my mind that the defense generally, and through this witness, Bob Costello, was serving Trump in the sense of pushing back on the prosecution. And that may have scored them points with at least one person when he wasn't snoozing in the courtroom, Mr. Trump. But it didn't work for the jury. And because it didn't work for the jury, it didn't work for Trump. But that's been the additional forced error in this case, that the defense doesn't get the best it can out of the case, and I'm fine with that, because they listen to Trump rather than presumably whatever legal acumen they have. So how did it go with the judge when Costello was playing the judge, staring at him, trying to stare him down in the presence of the jury? Talk about not reading your audience, not the judge, nor in my opinion, the jury. And because Costello resisted the judge, and this happened yesterday, the judge cleared the courtroom and lectured him that what he did was contemptuous and he'd better stop it. Now, when asked a question, Costello, who is counsel to Rudy Giuliani and claimed he was counsel to Cohen, he would answer some of the questions yesterday saying, the emails speak for themselves. Now that's a gimme for a prosecutor to use, or any attorney. And so he had basically denied being concerned about Cohen cooperating and being a bridge through Rudy to the president, then President Trump, to help him in the case. But what happened was the emails contained the fact that Costello referred to Cohen as an asshole because he wouldn't do what he wanted to do. That he wouldn't bow down before the most powerful man on the planet because he had friends in high places, meaning through Rudy to Trump, that could stand by him and represent him and protect him if they all cooperated together. And it's a long tradition, goes back to something Franklin said once, and it was that we all hang together or we all hang separately. So what do we have? At the end of the day, we have the exciting witness they expected Costello to be, to come in and, roll that ball down the alleyway and knock down all the pins. But it didn't happen. It didn't happen because it was BS. It didn't happen because Costello did try to get Cohen to cooperate, basically to lie, to remain silent, to say that Trump was unaware of the goings-on with Stormy Daniels and others. And as a result, the jury goes away now for a week, and that's what's in their mind. They have seen confirmed by the defense's own witness what a bastard Trump is and how he was leaning heavy on people, seeking to coerce cooperation in his bullshit defense. So, I say, as I have from the beginning, that this case is a lock. And there are only two things in my mind that can change it. One is, there is a corrupt overture made to one of the jurors. And as a result, they try to hang the jury because either out of fear or favor, that is, funds, threats, or whatever, something that happens in a mob case. It seems to me that it's remote, but it's not impossible. It seems to me that when they put Costello on the stand, they're desperate. And so it's something that can't be ignored as a possibility. The second thing is that we have to wonder if the two lawyers will apply themselves in leadership roles that would favor the defense. Now, of course, I don't know them. As I've mentioned before, one's a trial lawyer. He may think more in that fashion than the other lawyer. So those are the two, I think, remote chances of the jury being hung. Will the decision come fast? I don't know. The judge probably, as I'm speaking to you, is now or about to be discussing how he's going to charge the jury, meaning what instructions he's going to give the jury as to how to consider the evidence in the case. So, we're closer, in my opinion, to a conviction of Trump and to rehabilitating our judicial and legal system by this first step, with more to follow. And we have to continue fighting because they are. And they fight fraudulently with lies. They fight with threats and coercion. They make people fear each other. This is not America. And worst, in the end, what they seek to have is an oligarchy. To have a non-benevolent dictator, a malevolent individual, a crass individual who never should have been president the first time. So, that's what I'm thinking down here by the shore. And I'm going to return to normalcy in a few moments after I stop talking. So I hope you're well. Sometime tomorrow, I'll be returning to Virginia. Part of this trip was to bring from across the country members of Holly's family so we could have a joint get-together, and we did that. And so we'll see Assateague and other things, but then we'll get in our little car and head on back to Virginia. And then we'll take a spin around my cathedral of trees. So all the best from the sand castles in Ocean City. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.